In the morning, Tang Wulin wandered through Sea Deity Island. Its dense vegetation was very beneficial for his cultivation. Tang Wulin had initially intended to ask Elder Tang about his second soul skill, but since he hadn't heard anything from him, he decided to forget it and figure it out on his own. He resolved to focus on cultivation first. Remembering that his uncle had said the denser the vegetation, the better it was for cultivation, he decided to go deeper into the island. In the distance, he saw the Holy Spirit Duluo sitting on a man's lap. He was confused, but then the man noticed him, so the two decided to leave. Tang Wulin ran from there because he wanted to avoid seeing something he shouldn't have. While he was running, he came across the girl from earlier. The girl turned around. They both made eye contact. She looked familiar to his little sister Na-Er, so he called her name. She, with a smile on her face, called him brother. Tang Wulin was extremely happy. Na-Er jumped on him and hugged him. She still couldn't believe that her brother had been there. She asked why he had been there. He told her that he had been an outer court student at Shrek Academy and asked her the same question. Tang Wulin mentioned that he had heard from Teacher Wu that Na-Er had been a disciple of the Sea Deity Pavilion Master. He also noted that in the past, she had failed to even awaken her martial soul. Na-Er asked him to first explain why he had been absent for all those years. While Tang Wulin was escorting Na-Er, he shared the stories of his experiences. Na-Er finally learned that her parents had left home without any explanation. Then Wu arrived and told him to come back. Tang Wulin told Na-Er that he had to go. He informed her that his master had been Zhuo Shi, the Scarlet Dragon Daoluo. He told her that they would meet up the next day, and left. At night, while he was lying in bed, he thought about how Na-Er had actually become the Sea Deity Pavilion Master's inner disciple. She must have been the first among the Shrek Academy students to achieve that. He remembered the moment Na-Er came to his house when they were little. They ate and played together, having such a good time. Now Na-Er had become a soul master, and he felt really happy for her. He wondered where his mom and dad had been, thinking about how he had found Na-Er. The next day he went to meet Na-Er. Tang Wulin noticed that her eyes had changed and asked why they were different. Na-Er explained that it had happened when she experienced the martial soul awakening, and apologized for leaving without saying goodbye at that time, explaining that her family had found her and taken her away. Tang Wulin was surprised that her family had found her. Na-Er continued, explaining that when they found her, they had brought her back to the family and held a ritual, which had led to her martial soul awakening. Tang Wulin asked what had happened next. Na-Er said that when she was 8, her family had sent her there, where she had acknowledged her master as her teacher and had begun training. She expressed that although she would never experience as much as Tang Wulin had, she really missed him. Tang Wulin told her that he was glad she had found her family and that he missed her a lot too. He thought to himself that it seemed like Na-Er still had something to say, but decided that if she didn't want to share it, he wouldn't force her. Na-Er asked Tang Wulin when he would buy her more delicious food. Tang Wulin told her that they could eat it at once. Na-Er was excited. Tang Wulin took her to Shrek Academy's snack street and bought her some amazing food. At the work-study dormitory, Yuanan was going to get something to eat. ZC, without her consent, decided to go with her. Yuanan was furious. The two arrived at Shrek Academy's snack street. Yuanan ordered some food. ZC told the chef that he wanted the same and that he would pay both their bills. In the distance, ZC noticed Tang Wulin and Na-Er eating together, and he was surprised. Yuanan wondered who had been sitting next to Tang Wulin. Shici was further surprised because Na-Er was eating the same portion as Tang Wulin. Tang Wulin explained that Na-Er was his little sister, whom he had often mentioned before. He said they had been separated for many years and had not expected to reunite on Sea Deity Island. Na-Er greeted them, and ZC responded with a greeting, thinking that Na-Er was gorgeous, and wondering how Guyue would have reacted if she had seen Tang Wulin and Na-Er together. ZC then asked Tang Wulin why he hadn't come back the previous night. Tang Wulin replied that he had been training on Sea Deity Island for the past few days. Na-Er asked Tang Wulin for more food. Tang Wulin quickly ordered more food. ZC joked about Tang Wulin's entire family being food grinders. He was surprised because he had never seen anyone who could compete against him in terms of eating. Tang Wulin got a little angry and told him that it was a blessing that they were able to eat. He told Na-Er to ignore him and tell him if she wanted more food. ZC and Tang Wulin then went back and forth. Then 3 men saw Na-Er and started teasing her. Tang Wulin was not happy with this. A stall owner there told them to leave because he thought those guys could trouble them. Tang Wulin questioned if someone would dare cause trouble within the area of the Shrek Academy. The stall owner told him that those guys must have been expelled from Shrek Academy or failed the entrance examination. They bore grudges and weren't willing to leave, so they went astray after staying there for a long time. Tang Wulin asked if he was trying to say they were soul masters. He told him that it was most likely. ZC asked Tang Wulin if he needed him to do something. He told him everything was fine and that they were leaving, but before they could, one of those guys named Feng stopped them. He stepped on their table and invited Tang Wulin to have a drink with them. Tang Wulin was furious. He didn't want to cause a ruckus, so he told them they were underaged. He again teased Na-Er. This time Na-Er told him to clear the way. He realized they were from Shrek Academy, and because of the grudge he held against the academy, he stood in their path and demanded they shout out, "Shrek Academy didn't deserve Feng Ling, otherwise he wouldn't let them pass." Na-Er had enough. She stepped up and drew a spear. She pointed the spear at his neck. Feng was shocked. He started trembling. He had never thought a girl like her could possess 3 purple and 1 black soul ring. Tang Wulin was also surprised by her power. After dealing with Feng, Na-Er decided to leave with Tang Wulin. The other people there were just confused. Tang Wulin told ZC that he would be on Sea Deity Island for training before school started. ZC asked Yuanan what Gu Yue would think if she saw Tang Wulin and Na-Er being so close. Yuanan told him that that was their matter to decide. She blamed his meaningless thoughts as the reason for him being so weak. ZC asked if she was implying he didn't deserve her. Yuanan confirmed. ZC got frustrated and told her that if one day he beat her, she must marry him. Yuanan didn't refuse. This gave ZC hope he had a place in Yuanan's heart. At Sea Deity Island, Na-Er decided to show Tang Wulin her martial soul, the silver dragon spear. Noticing that Tang Wulin seemed depressed, Na-Er asked if something was wrong. Tang Wulin explained that it was about his second golden ring, and that until now, he still hadn't figured out what power it gave him. Na-Er suggested that he use it and show her, as she might be able to help. Tang Wulin agreed, demonstrating that it lasted only 2 seconds without any changes or powerful attack skills appearing. He added that to use it again, he had to consume a large amount of bloodline energy. Na-Er then asked if his defense had become stronger. Tang Wulin wondered if the golden ring might produce a defensive soul skill, and Na-Er suggested trying it out. Tang Wulin agreed, and Na-Er drew her spear and attacked his chest. She noted that Tang Wulin had drained a portion of her attack's bloodline energy. Tang Wulin realized that Na-Er's strike had immediately inserted a wave of energy into his body. In the blink of an eye, his bloodline energy had fired up, and the stirred-up dragon had roared from inside his body instantly. Tang Wulin was excited. His power of Shaking Heaven Golden Dragon had increased by at least 30 to 40%. Moreover, he hadn't felt a thing from Na-Er's strike. Na-Er observed that it looked like it wasn't just his defenses. Tang Wulin noted that not only had the power of Shaking Heaven Golden Dragon greatly increased, but the consumption had also been reduced, and the time for the skill casting had decreased. He wondered if it could have been a support-type soul skill. Na-Er asked if he could still cast it. Tang Wulin confirmed that he could. Na-Er suggested doing it again. Tang Wulin agreed. She drew her spear and struck. Tang Wulin used the Shaking Earth Golden Dragon to block the attack. Afterward, she asked him if it had hurt. He hadn't been hurt at all. Instead, his body had felt full of bloodline energy like a stress response. He realized he could cast the Shaking Earth Golden Dragon in an instant. Na-Er noted that she now understood the power this soul skill bestowed upon him. Tang Wulin asked what it was. Na-Er explained that half of its effect was similar to 1-second invincibility, allowing him to resist an attack 3 times more powerful than his defense for a short period. The other half absorbed the opponent's attack power and transformed it into his own. When she tried to hit him, she felt part of her soul power and bloodline energy being taken away. Tang Wulin was surprised and impressed. Na-Er mentioned that there were numerous soul skills, and if he could use this one well, he would be extremely powerful in actual battle. Tang Wulin then requested Na-Er to strike him with more power, wanting to see how high his defense could get. She agreed and told him to be careful. He charged towards her and acknowledged her strength as he blocked her attack. After the attack, he mentioned that he had some unclear thoughts jammed in his head before, but now they suddenly became clear. His soul power had been enhanced, and his bloodline energy had increased, making it feel as if he had reached another level. However, he found it exhausting to consume the bloodline energy so many times in a row. Na-Er asked what was wrong, and Tang Wulin explained that he was okay, just that he had used too much energy. Na-Er noted that when he cast that skill, she couldn't break his defense even though she used all of her power, and asked how he felt. Tang Wulin explained that the stronger her attack had been, the more power he had absorbed, making his counterattack even more powerful, but he had consumed more energy. He concluded that her attack power must have been 2 or 3 times stronger than his defense power. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to break his defense. Na-Er congratulated him on obtaining a deity skill. Tang Wulin expressed his gratitude, saying that if it hadn't been for her, he wouldn't have known when he would have figured it out. Na-Er asked if he had named this skill yet, and when he said no, she suggested calling it the Golden Dragon Emperor Body, which he agreed to. After that, Tang Wulin went to Zhuo's place and showed him his skills. Zhuo thought that his disciple was truly gifted, managing to nearly comprehend the Shaking Earth Golden Dragon in such a short time. Zhuo advised Tang Wulin to improve his soul power and elevate to the 4th ring as soon as possible, as that would enable him to do much more. Tang Wulin agreed and reflected on how many mentors had reminded him to work hard to cultivate his soul power, deciding he must spend more time in the next semester trying to reach level 40. Then Tang Wulin went back to Na-Er to meet her one last time before leaving. He told her that he needed to get back to the outer court and urged her to stay in the inner court and work hard. Na-Er expressed her reluctance, saying she didn't want him to go. Tang Wulin reassured her that this time was different from the last because she could now contact him and visit him in the outer court. Na-Er hugged him and asked him to overcome any future problems for her sake. Tang Wulin embraced her and promised to put all his efforts into entering Sea Deity Island. After saying goodbye, he left. Yali then arrived and noticed Na-Er's distress. She asked if her brother had been leaving and advised Na-Er not to be sad, reminding her that she was still young and had plenty of time. Yali mentioned that it had been the first time she had seen Na-Er so emotional when seeing someone off, and admitted she had been a bit jealous. Na-Er responded that she had also been very emotional when she was with Yali and their master. Yali expressed her adoration for Na-Er, explaining that she and her husband had had no children and had always treated Na-Er like their own child. She reassured Na-Er that her brother was an excellent young man and would definitely make it to the inner court. Na-Er questioned why they couldn't let him into the inner court now. Yali explained that an uncut jade needed more tempering and that the training there had not been enough for him. She revealed that after 1 year, her master and she had decided to let Na-Er go. Na-Er, with a sad face, expressed that she didn't want to leave Yali and their master. Tang Wulin woke up the next morning and was surprised to see Liji there. He asked Liji when he had come back. Liji responded that Tang Wulin was awake and that he had just returned. Tang Wulin then inquired about where Liji and Xinglan had gone, mentioning that he hadn't seen them in the academy. Liji explained that Xinglan had gone to a more suitable place for her to cultivate, and that he could cultivate his martial soul anywhere, so he had gone with her. Noticing Tang Wulin's expression, Liji remarked that it seemed he had broken through. Tang Wulin confirmed this, though he said it hadn't been something powerful, and that he planned to work hard at cultivating his soul power. Liji admitted he hadn't expected to still feel so much pressure in the outer court, mentioning that a few classmates had reached the 4th ring, which meant they had to work even harder. Tang Wulin asked if everyone had come back. Liji informed him that Xiao Yan and Gu Yue hadn't returned yet. CSC had gone out early in the morning, Yue Zhengyu had returned, and Yuanen seemed to be with him. Tang Wulin decided he would go find Yuanen. When he found him, he informed Yuanen that he was going to forge the spirit alloy for him and asked if his request had changed. Yuanen confirmed that the request remained the same and mentioned that the higher the quality, the better it would be. Tang Wulin then inquired if Yuanen had any idea where Zici had gone. Yuanen responded that he had no idea and remarked that since Tang Wulin was Zici's roommate, he should be the one to know where he was. He then left. Tang Wulin received a message informing him that Molan had awakened and her recovery progress was good. He was happy to hear that. Shortly after, Xiaoyan arrived and asked why he was so happy. Noticing that Xiaoyan seemed more confident, Tang Wulin explained that a friend of his had recovered from being sick, which made him happy. Xiaoyan was pleased to hear that, and mentioned she was heading back to pack her stuff. Tang Wulin agreed, noting to himself that her attitude had improved steadily since the stargazing stage was sublimated, and she was no longer the self-deprecating little girl she used to be. He observed that everyone was making rapid progress. Then Gitxing arrived and greeted him. Gitxing mentioned that with the new semester about to start and everyone having cultivated for a year, it would be a good idea to have a friendly match as training. Tang Wulin asked if Gitxing still didn't admit his loss and wanted to try again. Gitxing explained that they needed to test their cultivation results eventually and suggested Tang Wulin as the tester. He proposed having the match in the afternoon after the school ceremony the next morning, with a penalty for the loser. Tang Wulin agreed and they parted ways. Tang Wulin reflected on how his forging had improved, noting that the quality of the spirit alloy had reached 89%, indicating his cultivation was worth it. He wondered why Gu Yue hadn't returned yet with the school year starting the next day, and decided to give her a call. As he dialed, he thought about how much he missed hearing Gu Yue's voice. When she answered, he asked where she was, noting that school started the next day. Gu Yue assured him she would be back soon and mentioned she had brought something nice for him. Tang Wulin offered to pick her up at the gate, and she agreed. Suddenly, Shici jumped from a tree and appeared in front of Tang Wulin, asking who he was talking to and why he was blushing. Startled, Tang Wulin exclaimed that Zici had appeared out of nowhere without making a sound and asked what had happened to him. Shici had told him that it was a secret. He then went to the bathroom and splashed water on his face, remembering the torture he had endured in the past few days. Despite this, he still felt great. Under Liang's supervision, he realized he hadn't been naturally weak. He simply hadn't understood the martial soul thoroughly. He could tell he had made significant progress.